podcast is good. Welcome to Common Flock. Finally back. It's a nice Sunday. It's not raining here in New York for once this week. The beginning of the week was nice and it was horrible. Just like Philly's draft. But hey, trying to be positive today. Trying. Keyword. Thankfully, Philly hasn't disappointed us that much this week. But hey, got a bit to talk about, including I wanted to take another a overlook on the roster, which I have to pull this up now. And now I'm gonna go position by position, just because it's gonna make it a little bit easier. But right now, lining up at quarterback, you have Hurts, Flacco, Jamie Newman, the rookie coming out of Georgia, who was a signee after the draft. This is going to be interesting, because you've got Hurts, your designated starter. Keyword probably here, but nobody has confirmed he's a starter, which, I mean, if you pay Flacco that much, you need a competition. And you also brought in Newman. But why would you pay Flacco that much in the first place? Jay Fizzle, back on the stream we did for a little bit before day one of the draft, he had the perfect reaction. And it was like, why are we paying him that much? I'm paraphrasing here, but like, why are we paying him that much? It's ridiculous. It is. It's you shouldn't pay him that much to come in and be a backup. I don't care if he's a hometown guy or not. He shouldn't be a backup getting paid, what, $8 million incentives, or with incentives, 4 without? I get it if he doesn't play. Yes, that's $4 million. But also, if something happens, you end up paying him $8 million. No. I reject. Couldn't we just bring in Josh McCown for less? We could have paid him vet minimum. You could have said, here, vet minimum, you can come in, teach Hurts, and you can even do some teaching with Newman, and then you can come in and be a quarterback coach maybe one day. Which I want to do, because I want to bring him in, because he's got a lot of experience, and he was a journeyman quarterback, which means he's got experience in different environments, and different systems, and schemes, and staffs. And yes, he never had stability, but you're not always going to get that in spots, even if it looks like it from the outside. So, there's a lot of reasons to want him in Philly as a quarterback coach, and I really want him here, but it is what it is. Philly, you need to do it. But it's a young group. There's definitely some potential in the future, but it all depends on how it plays out. And they also brought in Brian Johnson this offseason. The guy who was on the cover of NCAA 10, I think it was, to be the quarterback coach, so not much worry there. Running back, we have enough running backs we could probably field one at receiver or corner. Elijah Holyfield, Jordan Howard, Jason Huntley, Kerryon Johnson, who just got brought in, and every time I hear Kerryon Johnson, I think of Carry On My Wayward Son. Adrian Killings, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. Not to mention, they drafted Kenny Gainwell. Now this, a lot of guys in this group. Not only that, you've got a floater here or there that is a former Eagle that you could probably bring in if you really needed. But there's a lot of guys, if they have to make cuts. I don't know if necessarily Boston's going to stay on the roster just because he doesn't have the best seasons. I want to see Boston stay. Miles is the foundation of your running back core. He's staying. Kerryon, if they just brought him in, he might be a camp body, but he's a young guy, 23, I think. Just came out of a potentially bad system with a potentially bad group that just got fired last year. Like, that whole coaching staff was gutted when Patricia and the GM got fired. So he could just need some development there, and he's good, or he just needs the right system. Huntley, a second-year guy? Yeah, second-year guy. Speed back, small, 5'9". Killings, who kind of also fits the mold of small, speed back. I don't know where they stand on those two. They're probably going to be practice squad guys coming into this year. One of the two may even be protected during the year if those rules continue. I don't know that for sure. And then you have Jordan Howard and Elijah Holyfield. Now I said Miles is the only one that's confirmed, mostly in. Carry-On might be in, so that's 2. Gainwell is probably going to stay on the roster. That's 3. Philly usually keeps 5. Clement's gone. Thankfully, I know a couple people that like him, but I don't want him here. I'm glad he's gone. I want to keep Holyfield. I really do, because he's the only real power back we've got on the roster. But I don't think we're going to keep him. Jordan Howard. I don't know if he stays on the roster. I don't. He could be your 5th guy, and you let Huntley, Killings, and Scott be on your practice squad, but you're going to have to protect Scott every single time. Or you could send Holyfield or Howard down, but you're going to have to probably protect one of the two, potentially. Because on that Holyfield, I don't think you're really going to have to protect him, but Howard you probably will. So, not only that, you get a select amount of veterans that you can put on your practice squad. So, I don't know. It's a tough group. There's a lot of different ways they can go there. But hey, at the end of the day, got to make the moves best for the team. Hopefully. We don't know with Howie Roseman. And I've been someone who's been in the middle of it. I don't hate him, I don't love him. Yeah, I'm starting to move more towards hate at this point. I'm not exactly neutral anymore, but receivers. This is going to be fun to talk about. Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, 2 returning guys who are standouts from previous seasons, though Greg Ward did nothing last year. I don't know where they stand on them. I don't know where they stand themselves. I don't know how they're going to perform. I think Ward could even be out. I don't know. He didn't do very much last season, though. No, but some players just didn't do anything in some positions in general. I don't know if he stays here, just because based on the fact that he doesn't do very much and there's a lot of youth in front of him. I don't know if he stays. I don't know if they practice squad him. They could, because he's either 4 or 6 vets you can put on the practice squad. But he's another player that you may have to protect a bunch, just because. Fulgham, he had a breakout season until he lost snaps. I think you just got to give him bulk snaps and hope he gets hot again. But it is what it is. Devonta Smith. Yes, I've heard the people calling him a toothpick, quote unquote. I've heard people say, "Oh, he's 165, blah blah blah." So what? Look at guys like Will Fuller who come into the league and are a smaller size too. So what? Just because he's smaller size doesn't mean he won't be able to potentially perform. But what people got to stop bringing up is Heisman and AP Player of the Year. I get it. He won awards in college, but that doesn't mean you're gonna win. You're gonna be good in the NFL. Look at how many Heisman winners have succeeded, and look at the ones that have failed. Not every one of them has succeeded. You can't base it off awards. Coaches and scouts and everybody in the NFL business does not care about your awards. They care about how you play, your style, your stats, stuff like that. They don't care about your awards. Your awards aren't going to mean much going to the next level, if at all. They don't. I don't know why people don't look at this and say, well, shouldn't mean much, and they don't mean much because I get it. You get an award in college. You should be happy and thankful you got it, but it doesn't mean you're going to translate to the next level. It doesn't. If you get an award in high school, that doesn't mean you're going to be good and get awards in college. And same thing, step up even more. Because the NFL is a different beast than college. I don't know. It gets me wound up every time somebody brings up awards for players. I don't care what he's won. I don't care if he won the Heisman at 15. No, I don't. It doesn't mean it's going to translate. But hey, at least Howie made Cowboys fans mad. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then they picked Kadarius Toney. My mic was actually not working during that part of the stream, but I was dying. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. He was a second-round receiver. But anyways, looking at the rest of the receiving core, you've got Rieger, Watkins, Hightower, 3 young guys. Hightower, I question his worth ethic sometimes, and he's got stone bricks for hands. Rieger, I think he took some injuries last season. I think he just needs a full season and a full off season, which again we don't get this year, to just get into the rhythm and everything. And that coaching staff, I question last year. I really do. Besides Stout, somewhat on Dave Flip, I don't question too much on him, though sometimes I do with some of the stuff he says. Then again, he was a great personality. And a couple others I don't really question, but I do question Press Taylor. But Khalil Tate, the quarterback turned wide receiver, the other quarterback turned wide receiver who I don't think is going to make the roster this year. He's just not. He's a camp body, basically. That's how I see him. A camp body. That's it. And J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. This is going to get me wound up too, but I've talked about this on stream. I've talked about it with Jay Fez and Lindy. I've talked about it before. He's just not. He wasn't in the right place. Wasn't in the right atmosphere. Wasn't with the right coaching staff who didn't use him very well. I think with this new coaching staff, he could be good, but it all depends how they use him, where they use him, what they do with him. That's the big if. And I've said it before. At this point, I'm just hoping he goes somewhere else and proves me right that he can be good with the right coaching staff. And here isn't it. I want to see him succeed, but I don't think I'm going to see him succeed here compared to if he goes somewhere else. I just don't. And I don't know. I really thought I'd get more wound up over that, but I didn't. Is that everybody in the receiving corps? Yeah, it is. Tight ends. Philly didn't draft one. I really hope they would, but you've got Hakeem Butler, the receiver turned tight end, who I hate doing this. I hate converting guys to tight end. It works for some teams, but that's because you get lucky, or you've got the right coaching staff, or the right scheme, or a mix of different variables. That doesn't mean everyone should do it. Hakeem Butler, 6'5", 227. I don't know. He hasn't really gotten playing time and hasn't really done anything, so I can't really. I've got nothing to go off of on him, really. Same thing with Jason Kroom, who got only a couple snaps and scored a touchdown. And Tehran Jackson has gotten basically no playing time and is a quarterback converted tight end. He's another guy that I'm like, well, I'm very questionable about, and right now I think he's just a camp body. That's it. Camp body, competition body. That's it. Caleb Wilson, probably going to be your third-string tight end for a while. I wanted Philly to draft somebody mid-round, bring them in to be just a backup for now, a third guy that can come in big tight end sets. But they didn't do that. I'm thinking next year they go big with a second or third round tight end, maybe even first, because they're going to need it to put somebody behind Goddard, because I think Ertz is gone after this year, or even at the trade deadline. I love Ertz, don't get me wrong, and we're segueing into Ertz with that. I love Ertz, don't get me wrong. One of my favorite Eagles, behind Brent Selleck, and a couple others, but just noting behind Brent Selleck. But I think he's gone. I don't want to see him go. I want to see him here for his full career, just like a bunch of other vets that are here right now. But at this point, I don't know. He's a big question mark. Yes, he's had one bad year, and it doesn't make him bad, but I don't know. He's got to be able to perform this year. Most of the offense had a down year last year, So I don't know. He's a big question mark this year. And that moves us to Dallas Goedert, who he performed well during the first part of the season, but then got injured and never really pushed back into a tight end one role and got a lot of targets. I think that's partially because of moving in Jalen and everything. I think it's just he's more of a blocking tight end than a passing or a receiving tight end. I think, and that's just not by much. But at this point, I think he's just you need to give him a little bit more time to develop that part of his game with passing game. He's good at it, don't get me wrong, but I think he's much better of a blocker just because he's always been that way. Tackle. Andre Dillard. This is why I segue into the Andre Dillard, Jordan Mailata thing. Oh, I'm all over the place with. Do you start Dillard? Absolutely not. Can Dillard move? No. You can't move Dillard inside. I don't know if you can move him inside. You can't move him to the other tackle spot because he did horrible last season. Or last time he did that. Not last season. And Mailata's played great. You're really going to just take his spot away because you want to try to get your first round pick more time? No. You've got to give up on some of your bad investments, and they did that with Wentz. I'm not saying it was a bad investment, but that contract and with how he was playing, how he just said, I'm cutting my losses. At this point, you may have to do that with him too. You may have to do that with Dillard. You may have to say, I'm going to cut my losses and let you walk or trade you. Whatever is going to be better for our cap situation and better for us. Mailata, I think he deserves to start at that tackle spot. I do. I think he deserves to start opposite lane. And I think he can be good with time. At this point, it's just time and experience. I say all the time about the Bills. Yes, they went further than they should have last year. But they're a young team. Give them time, and they'll really be a contender if they keep that core together and keep a lot of those guys together. And I think that's true with some Philly guys. If you just let them get experience and a little bit more development in general, they can be good. Goddard, I think, needs a little bit more development and experience in a way. Mailata, I think, needs a bit more just experience in general, and even development. Though any player can still need development. There's a couple others on the defense side that just time and development. Brett Toth, just another body for depth. He hasn't really gotten much playing time. He hasn't really done very much. Camp body. Jack Driscoll. Somebody that they tried to do a couple different things with. I thought he was going to be center at first. Then they put him at tackle. I'm glad they did, but at this point you just got to hope he can develop. Stout's one of the best, quote-unquote best, offensive line coaches in the league. Let's let him work his magic instead of bringing in a bunch of tackles next year in the draft. Because what's letting our coaches develop, huh? Our one good coach, what's letting him develop talent? Lane Johnson. He's getting old. He's still performing at a good rate. He's getting old. That's all I'm going to say. His ankle injuries have been multiple and not far between. I don't know how much longer he can last. Potentially, it can be another year. It can be another 5 years. I'm not sure. But do you really want to risk that without getting somebody behind him now? He has nobody behind him. Same thing with Brooks, who's not getting any younger. And they got somebody who can play behind Kels. Though he's had 2 ACL injuries in his college career. And you've got Sam Malo's still kind of young, and Mailata's young. But that offensive line needs some guys who can develop behind the vets now. You need that behind Brooks. You need that behind Lane. You also need that on the D line behind Cox and BG. But that's another story when I get to the D line. You're not going to get... Toth's not going to develop behind him. You're not going to do anything right there. Driscoll, you can say he can develop behind him, but he's a later round guy. I don't think he's going to get to the point where he's good. I don't. It all depends on his development. I want the best. I want him to do the best he can, but I don't know if this is the place for a guy like him. Guards. This is going to be interesting. So, Brandon Brooks, Isaac Seumalo, Nate Herbig, Sua Opeta, and Matt Pryor. Brooks, coming off his second Achilles injury, that usually happens one soon after another. We expected him to hurt the other one, because once you hurt the first one, there's a chance that you hurt the other one. Didn't expect it to be before the season, and then him almost come back for the to the team during the season. The guy's an android, but he's getting old. He's not getting any younger. He's 31. I don't know how much longer he has either. Seumalo, I think he needs a bit more development. He's a good lineman. He's not great. He's not top 5. Could be top 15, depending on how you look at him. But for now, I think he's holding down that spot. I think he's someone that you can say, I'm comfortable with him there. I can develop somebody potentially behind him to be a depth guy, and then just in case he gets injured, and tell him, here, you can have the reins at that spot. Herbig, Opeta. These two I always love to talk about together, because they're somewhat similar in the way that they're developing behind those two guard spots, and that we don't see much of them. Last year was an exception because everybody got hurt. Everybody got hurt on that line, basically. We had, at least 12 different offensive line combinations. So that means some of them both of them played. I think they just got to develop. They're, 22 and 24? What's the ages? Sua is 24, Nate's 22. And Nate's got 3 years of experience compared to Sua's 2. But it's interesting. I can't wait to see how they develop in the future, and I think they can be decent depth pieces if developed right. But that's on Stout. And last but not least, Matt Pryor. Yeah, at this point, he's a body that you can move back and forth, but with 4 guards and 5 tackles. 5 guards, 5 tackles. 5, 6. 1 or 2. Because I know tackles have at least 5. You're going to have to cut somebody somewhere, I think. You're not going to cut Pryor, I think. Not cut, but move to practice squad. I think Sua or Herbig go to practice squad, and then you move Toth to practice squad just because you're not going to keep so many linemen. They love to keep a lot of linemen, but there's a lot of guys at positions at this point where you're just like, all right, which is best to keep people at? Which is best to have bodies at? And I don't know if O-line is that. You've got your O-line coming back healthy as of right now, fingers crossed. I don't know. It depends on how he wants to build from. I know he's a trenches guy, so I'm not sure how much he's going to keep in the trenches. Center. This. Jurga's gone. I think he's gone, or he's a practice squad guy, or a camp body. He's not going to be on the roster very long, unless you move him. Because you've got Landon Dickerson that's going to be behind Jason Kelce to be the next Jason Kelce. Except, I don't know, Landon Dickerson's got injury concerns. What Philly player doesn't apparently anymore, because what happened to drafting healthy prospects? I'm making a joke there, but I don't know. His career could go one way, it could go the other. We don't know. It depends on how much he gets injured and how long he gets injured for. At this point, I'm thinking injuries aren't an if, they're a when. With Landon. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I see it. It's not an if, it's a when. I may just do like the overlook for this whole podcast because we're already 25 minutes in and I've only just gotten done with the offense. Defensive end. You've got Jannard Avery listed as defensive end, but he's a linebacker, so I'll get to him later. Or they're saying he's going to be a linebacker, so I'll talk about him later. Derek Barnett, BG, Matt Leo, Joe Osman, Josh Sweat. Osman, he's a former camp standout. I think he stays, potentially, because he did well in camp. He never really got a chance last year. I think they give him a chance this year. Or at least keep him on the roster as a depth guy. But, hey, you never know. They could say he's a previous regiment's guy and we don't need him, and he could go. I don't know. I don't know what way they're going to look at that. But, hey. I mean, you've got Matt Leo behind him. And he is a IPP or International Pathways player. I don't think he stays long. I think they're going to practice squad him. Nobody's going to really... I don't know. He hasn't gotten any playing time, really. I don't think we're going to see much of him for a couple of years, and I think he could be a Mailata situation on the line, on the defensive line, but he plays football, not rugby. I just made that joke, didn't I? But I didn't even intentionally make that joke. That just came out. Josh Sweat, he's staying. Sweat's staying. He's a standout. You got to keep him. You got to develop him. I think he can be good. Maybe even the edge of great if you develop him right. BG is an aging depth piece. He's staying. No question about it. Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett. I don't like talking about this because I say the same thing over and over and I sound like a broken record and I'm beating a dead horse. But I want him. I think he should be cut. I do. He's not performing well since the Super Bowl. He hasn't really done much since the Super Bowl. And thank you for for helping with the strip sack and everything. Thank you for helping with a wonderful 2017 season. But the NFL's a business, and it's a what have he done for me lately business, and he hasn't done very much for Philly lately. I think he goes after the season. I think the fifth-year extension was a mistake, and I think it was a bad idea. I think he stays just because it was a bad investment, but how he needs to try to prove that his investments work, and then he's gonna walk after the season. But that's not what I'm talking about. So he's gonna stay, regretfully. Defensive tackle. Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, T.Y. McGill, Hassan Ridgeway, Raekwon Williams. Oh, I forgot to mention the rookies. They're still not on the thing. So if I forget them, I'm just going to talk about these rookies then because I forgot. I'm going to cut back to the defensive ends for a split second. Eagles. I mean, they're not officially signed, so that's why they're not on the roster, but it makes my job harder right now. At defensive end, you also got Tehran Jackson out of Coastal Carolina. I'm not going to mention UDFAs till later, but listed, he's the only listed defensive end in Tehran Jackson, Coastal Carolina. He's going to stay. You know he is, so that's what? 4, 5, I said we're probably going to stay? 5. Could stay. Keyword could. I'm not taking numbers down on this. I haven't just said, yeah, these are the guys I think are going to stay. At this point, I'm just saying, well, I think these guys could have the chance to stay. None of this is set in stone for me. Also, I'm just noticing Matt Leo is also 6'8". I think he has to stay, but I think he could also be put on practice squad. We saw the same thing happen last year to Prince Tega. I can sadly pronounce that now, but I still can't pronounce some names from this year's draft, which are going to take me a while to pronounce. Not in our class, but just in general. Defensive tackle. Now, Ridgway, McGill, and Hargrave, they're probably staying. They're more vet guys. They've been in the league for 6, 7 years. TY 7, Hargrave 6, Ridgway 6. I think they're just depth pieces. So there's 4 behind Cox, who you're gonna keep. He's the cornerstone of your defense. I don't know about Raekwon. I think he's a camp body or type of guy. I think he's just gonna move to the practice squad or be gone. And then you also have the 2 drafted defensive tackles, which really makes me think, well, are you getting rid of your guys that can hold down the fort like TY and Hassan? Or you're not getting rid of Hargrave and Milton Williams, DT Louisiana Tech, and Marlon Twipiolu. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that for a while, so just bear with me. It's the only one I can't pronounce out of our whole class, surprisingly. Now, I don't know where they fit in to Philly. I don't. They're going to keep Milton Williams around because he's a third-round pick, and it's Howie. Either way, even if he didn't perform, I think he's a depth piece. That makes 5 on the defensive line too, so what do you do there? Even if you do cut T.Y. and Hassan and Raekwon, you've got, 4 or 5 with these two? And then Marlon out of USC, I don't know where he stands. He also could be a guy, because him and Tehran are both 6-rounders. They could get the Prince Tega treatment and go to practice squad and then just be gone. I don't know. It's all going to depend on what they see in them, how they develop, and what happens in the first year. And what happens in general with the rest of the roster. Linebacker, Jannard Avery, Eric Wilson, Joe Becci. I still can't pronounce. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I don't think I am. Sean Bradley, TJ Edwards, Alex Singleton, Rashad Smith, Davion Taylor. Jannard, I don't know about moving him back to linebacker. He was a 3-4 linebacker before he came here. I question that. And I don't know how he's going to perform at linebacker. I think he's mostly a special teams guy. Becci is he's a camp body. That's it. That's all he is. Same thing with Rashad Smith. Camp body. You're not really going to get much out of him. If anything, special teams. Wilson's going to be a starter. Taylor is still your developmental guy, raw developmental guy from last year's draft. Singleton and Edwards. Singleton's your top linebacker in terms of tackles and stuff coming in from last year. TJ's another developing piece. Sean Bradley, developing. So there you go. You already got 4 in Wilson, Taylor, Singleton, Edwards. Actually 5, including Bradley. And then you also bring in... Jacoby Stevens, who's a safety, who was listed as a linebacker, and Patrick Johnson, the linebacker at Tulane. Although Jacoby Stevens, I think, is going to be played as safety a bit. He is out of LSU. Another, people compare him to Jalen Mills, except he's a 6th-round pick, and he's supposedly playing at linebacker instead of corner. And as a former safety. I hate that Howie likes to try to bank on late-round picks and UDFAs, because it's not going to work. I said it on the draft day stream, 2 and 3, I think, both, with Lindy. Your luck's going to run out sooner or later, and you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to build your roster off UDFAs and late-round guys, because soon that's going to be your whole roster just taking shots on everybody, and it's not going to work. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing this and expect results. unless the coaching staff is really, really good, you're not going to keep getting results. You're not. I'm sorry. That's not how this works. This is not how the NFL works at all. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the roster breakdown. I was going to put a lot more into this video, but this podcast, but I guess I'll talk about some of it during the week and the rest next podcast. Not only that, I was going to talk about the Aaron Rodgers drama, but I'll let that play out a little bit more. Jacoby Stevens and Patrick Johnson, that makes for a lot of linebackers. I think you've got to move Stevens back to safety because you've got so many there already. Unless you're going to cut some, you're not cutting Wilson. They could cut Smith, or not Smith, Sean Bradley, or Davion. Davion, I would be fine with. Sean, only because Davion's such a raw prospect. I don't know where they are with him, so you never know. But Patrick Johnson out of Tulane, pure linebacker, at least as far as I know. So, actually no, he's an edge rusher converted linebacker. But here's the thing, that's what I was thinking of earlier. He's a 3-4 linebacker, not a 4-3. We're really doing this again. Schemes matter. You're not going to plug and play a 3-4 linebacker into a 4-3 scheme. You've got to fit him you've got to get him into running the 4-3 scheme, and that takes time. Not only that, it takes morphing of the game. Because your 4-3 linebacker doesn't blitz nearly as much as your 3-4, and not only that, your 4-3 is probably going to be more in coverage in general and stuff, and be over the middle, and cover your running backs or your tight ends, and not going to be blitzing a lot like your 3-4. That's what worries me about that pick. Not only that, I don't think he's going to stay if you keep listing him like a linebacker, because he's not going to be what you think he is in training camp. If you think he's a linebacker that's going to fit in your 4-3 like to just plug and play, he's not. Cornerback. There's nobody there besides Slay. Nobody. And I will say this time and time again. There's nobody there. Slay is your only corner that you really can play on the outside. You've got Slay, 6 foot. Shaquille Taylor, 6 foot corner, who is probably going to be playing on the outside, but again, he's more of he's low on the bar prospect. If you think in the fact that, yes, he's got experience, but he's more of a role player. He fits more of a role player type role. Kevin Seymour, actually no, he's a younger guy. I was looking at Seymour. Kevon Seymour, I think he can be a decent outside corner, but unless you develop him to be good, and that's probably his ceiling, I don't see him getting any further than good. You need somebody who can be the next Slay. You may have got it in Zach McPherson. I don't know. You also needed some other depth bodies for outside. You've got Michael Jaquette at 6'1". That's it. There's 4 corners over, or 6 foot or over, 6 flat or over, and that's Seymour, Slay, Taylor at 6 flat, and Jaquette at 6'1". He's another outside corner, I guess you could say, but he's undeveloped. He's young, and we haven't seen much of him on the outside. Jamison Houston, Lavert Hill, 2 guys that I don't know where you're gonna play them. Hill is he's not really experienced. I was thinking of somebody else, but why? Camp bodies. They're camp special teams bodies, I'm pretty sure. Craig James and Maddox. Grayland Arnold, Elijah Riley. Arnold's more of a safety, and I'd say Riley could be more of a safety too. I think you're probably going to see more of them there. That's why I'm really not talking about them. But you could see a bit of Elijah down in corner, but if anything, he is 5'11". You're not going to see him outside the slot. We need tall corners to play the outside. There was that corner out of South Carolina that went in the 5th or 6th. I really wanted him, like, a lot, because he was, 6'4", around 210, 220 probably. Kid was a monster in terms of size. That's what we need for outside. Just one. One. Right now, I'd say Taylor Seymour are both more just depth development guys or project guys. Slay is your CB1 that needs somebody behind him and is aging. He's not getting any younger. He is 30. Maddox, your slot guy who hasn't performed the greatest in recent seasons. Craig James is more of a special teams body. Jaquette, more of a special teams body. Hill and Houston are more of camp bodies or even just special teams. There's nobody really notable there besides Slay and maybe James a little bit and Seymour. And maybe Maddox at times. That's it. Safety. Now this is the end. This is... Actually, no, I gotta talk about special teams too. We're already 41 minutes in. Oh. Man, my head's gonna kill me after this. Andrew Adams, Marcus Epps, Anthony Harrison, Rodney McLeod, Kayvon Wallace, and I'm clumping in Elijah Riley and Grayland Arnold. Arnold, I think he could be a Actually, let's start with Elijah Riley. Camp body, I see him more as, or a role player at his ceiling potentially. I don't see him amounting to much, and I think he's gone. Andrew Adams is somebody from Jonathan Gannon's old setup. I think he stays, just based on that. And he's got experience. He can be a depth piece there. McLeod, whatever. We jump back and forth between how to say his name every week. McLeod, he's going to be your starter, no doubt. Kayvon's going to be developing behind him, so there's 3 right there. Epps can go, I really don't care. Anthony Harris is another guy they brought in. I think Harris is the one from Vikings. I'm not sure. I don't know. Both could be. I don't know. So there's 4. And Rodney, Kayvon, Anthony Harris, and Andrew Adams. And then you bring in Arnold to be a depth piece. That's 5. Special teams. Marcus Epps is special teams, but you can easily put Grayland in. Plug and play, kind of. Special teams. Oh boy. I'm really just going to talk about long snapper, punter, kicker. Long snapper has been the same situation for a while. Oh wait, I forgot to note Ross. I can't pronounce his last name. O-lineman. Only a 2-year guy. I don't see him being here for long. If not, he's probably going to be practice squad. Punter. Aaron Sipos. I still don't know how to pronounce that. He's probably going to be your guy, unless they find somebody better. And he's been on the practice squad for a while, I think he was on. I don't know. They've got some connection to him. I don't know if they like him or not. He's probably going to be your punter. Rick Lovato. This has been the situation for a while. 5-year guy. Out of Old Dominion. He's good. He's a very good long snapper. You're not going to see him replaced anytime soon, hopefully. Staying. Jake Elliott. Now, after this is going to be the end of the podcast, but I don't know. He's truly a question mark. If he has another struggling season, I think he's gone. Even though I really like Jake Elliott. If he has a great season and bounces back from the struggles of last season, I think he's staying. Does Howie Roseman want him here? Probably. Just because of stubbornness. Is he going to stay? I'm not sure. It all depends on how he performs the next season or 2, depending on if he stays after next season. But anyway, that's kind of been an overlook. But all those guys are staying because there's nobody else here to contest with them. So I see no reason to talk about it. And I'm just saying I didn't bring up any UDFAs. That's right. I did bring up Newman earlier, but that's just because he was the name that came off the top of my head. He's the only one I can really remember we grabbed. But looking at the UDFA settings, I'm still angry we didn't grab anybody from Notre Dame. There was a couple guys I was hoping would come here, but they didn't. Could have used a jump ball guy like Javon McKinley or cornerback like Nick McLeod or Sean Crawford, who is a DB who can move to safety. But, hold on, let me pull it up. We have it in the Discord. Thanks to Pat, we have it in the Discord. If it's in the pins. I'm not sure it's still pinned. Nope, it's not. I don't know what happened to it. Ooh, somebody's doing a fantasy draft. Ooh. I just got like mystified by a fantasy football league, and they're doing draft for rookies, but so, and none of them are confirmed, so I'm not really gonna I'm taking these with a grain of salt, but we supposedly signed former Texas A&M receiver Jamon Osborne, Florida wide receiver Trayvon Grimes, former Wake Forest and Georgia quarterback Jamie Newman, yeah, they did not make this easy when trying to find this. So apparently you also have Jack Stroll, Harry Strider, and Jaquan Bailey, who are a tight end, center, and defensive end. Doesn't surprise me. Because what's a cornerback lineup if you have no corners? But anyways, they're probably just going to be camp bodies for now. They're probably not going to amount to much. Though the tight end I'm very interested in is Stroll, and Jamie Newman's going to be a third quarterback. But other than that, I don't know what much of is going to come from this class. But anyway, this has been the Common Flock. It's been 48 minutes. I'm surprised we went this long with just a roster breakdown. And I will see you in the Golden Dome, which I'm going to record right after.